You're not just an oil person, an energy person, you're an economist as well. Does the price of oil and where it is and the fact that it's not been doubling, does that give you some reassurance on the recession issue?
Well, the fact that the oil price has been going up and down, of course, in response, really it's been a register of fears in terms of whether Iran is going to come back to the oil market or the trade war. But there are other indicators. We just had our new IHS Markit's latest PMI index for manufacturing. It's back to the level that you haven't seen since 2009. So obviously there are a lot of things going back and forth. I think oil is it was the inventory numbers that boosted oil today, and oil has been kind of in this range.
Well, what about those inventory numbers? Because they did surprise, and they did, as you said, really drive up the price of crude oil. Is that a structural issue? Is that something, or is that just an aberration?
Well, I think it refers to the fact that in some ways the market has gotten tighter. But what is the dominating theme in the oil market, if you remember, David, in May, when it looked like the U.S. and Iran were going to be going at it, oil got up to $75 a barrel. And then things switched to really what you're talking about, fear of recession, and that's what pulled down the price. And the oil price is actually one of the things that's not today, but has generally been reacting to this pervasive trade war that continues.
So it's sort of on the one hand, supply, Iran cut down the supply. On the other hand, demand, there's a concern about China in particular, but global demand overall.
We've seen our numbers for demand were lower than others, but people have come down to sort of a 1.1 million barrel a day increase. And the other thing that's going to happen in the next few months is we're going to see a significant increase in U.S. oil production. We'll get up, I think, by the end of the year to around 13 million barrels a day or more, because these pipelines that have been under construction to move surplus oil or extra oil from the Permian area to the coast are now coming online between August and the end of the year, and the ability to move another 2 million barrels a day. So one of the features of this new world is that the U.S. is really an oil powerhouse as an exporter.
Well, talk about those pipelines. There was something of a chokehold, basically, on getting the oil out of the Permian, and we needed more pipelines. When President Trump came in, one of the things he says, we're going to deregulate to permit one of those pipelines. Does the Trump administration deserve some of the credit for the increasing flow of oil out of the Permian?
Well, not out of the Permian. I think elsewhere they've tried to bring the Keystone pipeline and to finally get that. That's been on the dock since 2005. But I think in the Permian, it's all in Texas, and it's a lot easier to do things in Texas than across other state borders. So it's really been driven by the economics, by the market, and the need to get to the ocean so that we can export these growing volumes.
Address another area in the country, the United States, which is Alaska. We just heard that the BP apparently is going to be selling off its operations up in Alaska. They're pulling out of Alaska, essentially, selling to somebody else. What does that tell us about some of the deregulation and ability to drill up in Alaska?
Well, what they're doing is getting out of their traditional areas. Alaska is kind of beginning to have a mini boom. People are going back and discovering other oil. And I think for BP, it's been in Alaska for over a half century. From their point of view, the volumes are going down. They have a lot of developments in other parts of the world where they need to put capital in. And they just did a big acquisition, actually, that got them in a significant way into the Permian. So they're saying this is a legacy asset, let's move on. And it's a classic thing where the company that's going to buy it is one that specializes in older assets and kind of managing them in a different way. So, but Alaska is a state that depends upon oil revenues to a very significant degree.